Ladies and gentlemen, our theme today is Healthy Soils for a Resilient Future. Over the next 2 hours, we'll explore solutions, partnerships, and actions to restore soil health and strengthen food systems. To officially open this event, I invite IFDC President and CEO Henk van Duyn to share his opening remarks. Henk leads IFDC's efforts to promote soil health as a cornerstone of sustainable agriculture, water conservation, and climate resilience. He has extensive experience in international public-private partnerships across Africa, Asia, and Europe, and previously held leadership roles at Toescale, Bopink, and served as a Dutch diplomat. Welcome, Henk. The floor is yours.
Thank you, James, and good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everybody. First of all, congratulations today with World Soil Day. Reason for this event and reason for this webinar. I'm very pleased to see that many people online, as well in the English room as in the French room. I will stick to English for the moment. But as I said, the topic on the table today, healthy soils for a resilient future, is relevant to all of us. But it's not relevant to all of us just for today or for this coming year or the coming years. It's a major topic when I look at perspective, which is addressed by the UN Food Systems Summit in 2021, and of course by the Africa Fertilizer Soil Health Summit in 2024 last year in Nairobi. We all know that soil degradation has a major impact on farmer productivity in all of the countries where we operate. All the way from Dakar to Djibouti, farmers are struggling with production due to soil degradation. And the same from Cairo all the way to Cape Town. Farmers are struggling with the loss of nutrients due to erosion, due to soil degradation, and due to climate change. So taking that into account is the reason for today and the reason for this webinar. And I'm pleased to see so many different colleagues and participants, stakeholders, but also partners of programs we are implementing across the continent. Soil Values is one of our main programs. We have programs like Transform. We're working on seed sector programs where soil restoration and soil health are the main drivers. But for today, let me focus more on what we do with the work in Mali, Niger, Burkina, and Nigeria, but also looking at Senegal and the coastal areas in West Africa. Restoring soils is only possible if we partner, if we work together, because everybody has a role. Farmers, private sector partners, agribusinesses, national governments, the regional governments, world banks, or let's say the multilateral developers and implementers as ourselves. African Union has a clear guidance on this. So in the end, we need that synergy. SILS, CORAF, African Union, ECOWAS, the national authorities and local authorities to really work on restoration of soils. And that's what today is all about. That's why we invited all of us. Soil degradation accelerates, and we know. And how do we ensure that we stop it and we convert it even into productivity? So how do we stop soil degradation? One, but second is how do we restore those soils who are already degraded? And how do we ensure that these degraded soils can contribute again to productivity? Because last but not least, food insecurity is growing. More and more people, also due to security instability, are in the region food insecure. And it's our mandate and our responsibility as we are here today, celebrating World Soil Day, that we look at how we can contribute to reduce food insecurity. And for us, and for me personally, the only way to do so is to restore soils. As the FAO says, soil is the foundation of life on Earth, and I fully support it. Without soil, there is no food, as I mentioned. So it's up to us to take that action. And it's up to us to restore soils and to reduce degradation of soils and to ensure that farmers do have the opportunity to grow more. That's why I'm pleased we are in this seminar hosted by Soil Values, our main program funded by the Dutch government, which is a program of major partners. IFDC, SNV, Wageningen University, but also IITA, ICRAF, IMI, AGRA, and ISRIC. And not only those 8 partners, but local implementing organizations, as I said, the regional economic community like ECOWAS, CORAF, SILS, World Bank with FSRP are major partners in this program. Because we believe that only together we are able to address soil health and soil restoration. Only together we are able to improve food productivity, to ensure that farmers produce more and we address food insecurity. So I wish you all a very interesting and inspiring webinar today. And don't forget, we don't have to wait 12 months till we have the next World Soil Day in 2026. We have 365 days. We, on a daily basis, can contribute to the improvement of soil health, soil restoration, and improve productivity. So I reach out to all of you to take action, as the title of this webinar for today, to take action and to take the next 365 days to implement the restoration of soils. Thank you all. I wish you all a good day, and I hand back to James. James, thanks.
Thank you so much, Henk, for those inspiring words. We now invite you to hear our keynote presentation from Erik Smaling, who is a soil specialist with a PhD from Wageningen University on soil fertility in sub-Saharan Africa. He has been a professor, worked internationally on development projects, served in the Dutch Parliament, provincial politician, volunteer coach, and project manager for food systems at Wageningen Environmental Research. Now I invite Professor Smaling to share insights on soil health, key challenges, and flagship innovations.
Thank you so much, James. Pleasure to speak today, and excited to see so many people here to celebrate World Soil Day together. Like I said, I'm Erik Smaling. I'm also the immediate past director of Soil Value, so my heart is very much with the program, with the topic, and it's some sort of a nice way to conclude my intense participation in Soil Values. It's not gone, but the intense period of 6 months is just behind me and the whole team, and Alain Traoré has taken over, so the program is in good hands. So without much ado, let me try to share my screen. Well, I'm going to try to give a bit of an account in these 15 minutes of what I think are the main issues that Soil Value should actually keep being aware about in a broader context, let's say in an African context. And although many of you may think that Soil Values is mainly on developing new technologies that are not yet in existence, I think the ball game where Soil Values is part of is a complex one, and we need to be aware of the complexities of agricultural development in Africa, in West Africa in particular. And that means that there are challenges because we are there to address a problem of declining soil fertility, but you're also part of of a dynamic part of the world where changes are happening rapidly, and where the risk is that we always just look at the snapshots of 5 December 2025, whereas a lot of things are going on. I had the pleasure the past couple of months to be in places like Ouagadougou and Dakar and Lomé, where I had been 20 years ago the last time. So if you then reach these cities again, and you remember the airport of Ouagadougou to be just on the side of town, and now it's in the middle of town, it smashes in your face how fast cities are growing, and the data, of course, are underpinning what you see, or the other way around. But it means we are in the midst of very, very rapid developments. And I want to stress that there are challenges and there are threats, but there are also opportunities. Because what you can see here in 2050, the one bottom row of this table, that we are on our way to about 800 million people in West Africa by 2050. So 470 million in 2025 and 780 million in 2050. If you give soil values its extra duration of 8 years, then that's about 1/3 of this gap of 25 years. So the whole lifetime of soil values, we will see 100 million more people in West Africa. And those people have a mouth and they need to eat. And that means that there is a growth market for agriculture, a big one. And that is an opportunity. It's also a challenge, but it's also an opportunity. What you see here is also what I noticed so much when I landed in those cities I was talking about. Because what used to be more or less, maybe apart from Nigeria, which after all is a subcontinent, was a bit of a backwater, is now a bustling part of the world, a bustling part of Africa, with cities really growing so fast, and the need also to develop infrastructure that are connecting these big cities. We see actually from Douala to Dakar, you have a whole range of cities that have more than 2 million inhabitants. But also in the interior, you see that cities, the second largest or the next cities in most countries, the Bouakés, the Koumassis, the Bobo Dioulassos, and many cities in Nigeria are growing. And smaller cities are also becoming larger cities. So actually what you see is that urban population will be growing much faster than the rural population. So for farmers, the opportunities are absolutely there. And therefore we have to focus on the young labor force, on young people in West. I can't repeat that more than I already do, but the young labor force is actually the thing that we should be focusing on so much. Well, if you look at the development of the cities, then the more than 1 million inhabited cities are at the coast, but increasingly also smaller cities are growing and becoming markets. And when they become markets, mostly you see also infrastructure development. You see companies establishing themselves if the conditions are okay, and that means for our farmers, ideally our last miles become shorter. Different markets will become neighbors and no longer far away supermarkets in capital cities. So there will be business cases that are not yet existent. And therefore we as Soil Values and our partners have to focus on ecosystem restoration, on soil fertility improvement, on the opportunities that exist between agriculture and livestock, and on climate smart and gender relevant solutions. I'll address briefly integrated soil fertility management on the why, what, how, where subdivision, and then try to conclude what in my view are based on this are the key issues that we have to take on board when addressing soil fertility management in West Africa. Soil fertility is a free good, but it is finite, and many farmers, just like water, irrigated water, they see it as God-given, Dieu donné, which is true, but it's finite. So we see area expansion taking place everywhere, and of course there are many places in Africa where area expansion is still an option, but it will always goes at the expense of natural vegetation, which, as we all know, also has a role to play in nature conservation, in keeping carbon in the terrestrial ecosystems, etc. Well, we are reaching limits. We can see that reaching the limits is also expressed in competing claims on land. What we see particularly in the areas where sedentary agriculture and pastoralism are meeting. And reaching these limits means that increasingly countries reach the point where they are not able to feed their own population anymore. Now, well, if you have a lot of things to export and to offer to other places in the world, you can compensate that by importing your foods. A country like Egypt is always struggling along those lines, but if you don't have that, you will end up with a trade balance that is increasingly stressed, and that brings you that is actually deteriorating the whole system of a country. So bringing back soil fertility is a necessity. This figure many people have seen. Integrated soil fertility management, to me, is a three-pronged approach where you either add nutrients that are on the left-hand side, you try to avoid losing nutrients that are on the right-hand side, apart from farm products, which is your economic produce, and you have always room to recycle. And the mineral fertilizers stand out at the left-hand side, of course, but biological N fixation is an important one. If we talk about tree-based systems, it means you can get nutrients from lower layers, which is N6 in this figure. And trees also reduce leaching because their roots go deeper, so they reduce out3, just to give an example. Well, what I also want to stress, because there is a debate that is often taking place, is that integrated soil fertility management has an add, a save and a recycle component. And a lot of discussion in the field of regenerative agriculture and no input agriculture is that we can restore systems without adding new nutrients to the system, that we can do it based on the biological materials that are already in the field. I want to stress that is not possible. We are taking away a lot of nutrients from the land in crops, in animal products, and if we don't bring it back one way or the other, the system is going down, whether you like it or not. So anything regenerative, anything organic agriculture is highly preferable, but in a system that is declining, you have to bring something back. And that means to me that when it comes to fertilizer, it is essential, but it needs to be targeted in terms of what type of fertilizer, how much, to which crop, when applied, and all these issues that we normally discuss about, but which so far have not given us a big fertilizer market in West Africa yet. Then the where question. I mean, a land surface is not just a land surface. There are many places where you can have impact or develop technologies. So there is always the level of land degradation that is key. Land is not always degraded everywhere in West Africa. And there are soil fertility difference at watershed level, at management level. Technologies are not everywhere suitable. So this kind of heterogeneity of the landscape needs to be known, and it needs to be also part of your strategy, part of your improvement strategy, because particularly when it comes to something like fertilizer, you want your return to the fertilizer to be good and robust and being there every year. So in that sense, we need to know where exactly are we working on technologies with farmers. The best is to do that in a bit of a stratified approach, like for example here, how we have developed that in soil values with ISRIC and IITA also. Working at the watershed level primarily, that means a gridded soil fertility sampling and mapping procedure at the reconnaissance level, and then below that you try to zoom in on the heterogeneity that is either physiographic by nature or it is man-made. And then once you have mapped those relevant heterogeneity levels, you can go at a level 3 and test your integrated soil fertility management technologies. based on the know-how of the spatial differentiation of the soil fertility. And then you get pockets like this. I think you very much also need a kind of a pocket approach where you see is the real return on investment, where is the quantum leap improvement in soil fertility and in productivity, and where should we look for other options. So here enrichments of the circles around the village, the champs de case, the infields, those are key areas in West Africa to focus on. And like you see here, you can expand the champs de case. If your manure management, your composting and your other organic input management is in place, you can expand these champs de case. You can see here that the distance from the village and then the organic carbon content, you can see that close to the village, the organic carbon content is more than 3 times as high as when you are 1 kilometer away from the village. Similarly, when the land is fallow in those further away fields, the organic carbon content is twice as high as compared to permanent use of these fields. So there is a range of organic carbon contents, as you can see, which also offers opportunities to improve the systems. Well, combination of cropping and livestock systems, there are challenges because there's competing claims on land, but when you bring them together and when you have a more symbiotic system, like actually the champs de case is, because the animals are sleeping in the champs de case and eating in the champs de brousse, then the options for ISFM are plenty. There are many more than when the two systems are separated. Another one is, for instance, combination of cash and food crops. Here, cotton, for instance, if a cotton sector is organized properly and the company is functioning well and the connection with the farming communities is working out well, then it can really be beneficial. Like for instance here, where you see that a food crop, sorghum, the left part is benefiting from the fertilizer that was applied to the cotton the previous year. So this is an example of a residual effect of fertilizers given to the cotton, which is benefiting the follow-up crop. Then the bas-fonds, the inland valleys, are also critical and crucial for food production in West Africa. Since water is not limiting, the opportunities in the bas-fonds are much larger than in the uplands. Sequential cropping is possible, but of course the management of the water, which is not so well developed in this old slide, is crucial. So therefore Soil Values works also next year with Africa Rice in a so-called Smart Valley program. Ideally you see a good rice crop like here, followed by a second crop, in this case groundnuts, which is nitrogen fixing and is grown on mounds. So actually you're doubling your organic carbon content temporarily by building these mounds, and it's also suppressing weeds. So these systems are nice and have a lot of opportunity and potential. In the drier areas, these portions also exist. They're not really bas-fonds or inland valleys, but they're low-lying areas that even in these drier areas, this is in Niger, can offer opportunities during the wet season. Then we come to scalable technologies. One example is Zai in hardened plintite soils in West Africa, also in our countries. These lands, they look practically unusable because the hardened plintite is at the surface, and you can just play a tennis tournament on that, you would say, if you see the areas. But bit by bit, the farmers have managed to turn these lands into productive areas again, with the help of Soil Values and its partners, and also business partners, managed to develop mechanized Zai instrument, as you can see here. The system of Zai is digging these small holes and then putting ideally fertilizer and manure in it, and then you get a good crop. So this is what you see happening, a labor-saving technology that is also suitable for for young people to develop businesses on, and you can also scale because this machine allows you to cover large areas in a short period of time. Well, the land gets back to productivity. You can see the crop here developing, and some research data show that if you use fertilizers and manure, you can go back to 1500 kgs per hectare already, which is not a bad yield for the particular area in the Sahel. Well, then there is also, of course, the how question, because how the technology is fine, but how are you going to organize it? I mean, there's so many challenges before technology is really adoptable by a large crowd, and therefore the how question is actually key. And it boils down, in my view, to the, let's say, the societal triangle, if you like, where the government and the public sector and the private sector and civil society, so communities, NGOs, and so find each other with research and development support in the middle, and then some issues have to be addressed in order to make these technologies successful, to spread, to become cost effective, and to turn the tide when it comes to soil fertility management and productivity increase. So the improvement of producer market consumer linkages, investing in young people is critical. It is without that it will not really be successful. Small investments at a large scale to bridge the valley of death in an economic sense. What I also notice myself, also in other parts of Africa, is that there is so little investment potential at the level of communities, at the level of individual farm households, and the willingness or the readiness of financiers to even invest in vocational training, in farmer managed small development trials to compare manure with fertilizer or with other technologies. It's hardly there, and it is just in larger donor supported programs that these things are happening, or in the research environment, and it is not costly to do that at a larger scale. So that is really, in my view, is lacking really much in our development narratives. Yeah, and then community engagement is very important in soil values also. We have in our watersheds, we will work with communities at the watershed level, and it will be very much a citizen science based approach in getting these technologies sorted out, validated, demonstrated, and at the end of the day, then the farming communities will come up with a preferred technology. Now, these things are, on the how question, these are the things that are really important. Here you see a land use planning exercise on a green board in a village in Burkina Faso somewhere, where I took the picture. I'm in between the entire village community. A groupement villageois, a comité villageois, is responsible for this process, and as you can see, they're all local names, so unless you come from the area you may not understand what is written here, but it's all thought through. This is a land use planning map, a local land use planning map, which is developed by the people from around, and that is also very much underestimated, because we as researchers, developers, we think in scientifically developed maps to constitute the basis for the technology adoption, but this is the starting point, and that is also where I think soil value should start from. Ideally and eventually we come up with so-called bundle boxes that has been proposed recently also in soil values, where you can see that not only integrated soil fertility management is something of interest to farmers. Farmers think broadly, they think in livelihood systems, in making ends meet, in sending their children to school, in covering costs of weddings and funerals and hospital visits, etc. So there is always a combination, and at the end of the day, it's not so much the soil fertility technology, but the risk profile, the risk strategy of communities and farm households that do the job. And the bundle box approach allows to play around a bit with what is in this box and what combination of technologies and finance tools are needed to get to adoption rates that are making sense and that allow us to have belief and confidence that with this bundle box we can make the relevant changes. So that is really very important and in the heart of soil values at the moment. Yeah, then finally, of course, there is also the market, because often we also think, well, if only we give the farmer this and this technology, he or she will use it and will have a happy life. But without thinking of what is the destination of the commodities that are being produced at the farm level, you won't get anywhere. So is your sorghum for a local dolo, like in this case? Is this agro dealer, is she having sufficient business? Is there enough scale in the area for agro dealers to start a business locally? Then is your produce going to the local spot market? Or is everything being consumed within the household? So this is market number one, but here is already market number two in the cities, and here is market number three, the export market. And of course, here you can ask yourself the more macroeconomic question: should Mali just export raw cotton, or should it be allowed to make more ready marketable products out of that, which would, at the country level, of course, that would be highly preferable. Same case for the cocoa in Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire, for example. But yeah, these are the things that are actually on the table. So since my time is almost up, I want to conclude by just giving you my top three. That is to start with the itinerary. So Values is a 10-year program. We have more than 8 years to go, and hopefully much more than that. Particularly now that we have with Alain Traoré, we have somebody who knows the region so well. We want to go from A to B. We have a program document, and we have result areas, and we know that we have to deliver things in terms of number of beneficiaries, number of hectares, etc., etc. But where is B? Is B only the things we promised in the program document? I think it's more than that, and that's why I started with these demographic developments in West Africa, where there are opportunities and where there are also threats, but where also SO Values and its partners have to be part of that bigger development. And if you do that, you see opportunities also which you would not see if you only focus on your technologies, because innovations will crop up in the coming 8 years. Opportunities will crop up, but we have to think out of the box also to make the best possible use of the expertise and the know-how that we currently have in the program. Then the knowledge and the finance. Capacity building, of course, is obvious that it's important, but make sure you address different audiences with your capacity building. Academic capacity building, of course, is obvious. Training of trainers, cascade training is crucial for the scaling, but how do we do it? How do we know it is working in the proper way? And then vocational training, 1 month, 2 months, on anything broadly related to integrated soil fertility management. Do it because it's not expensive. It gives people new tools and new knowledge, and then you can spread wider than just focusing on your ISFM technologies. Invest also in digital literacy, invest training people to ground truth data that we get from remotely sensed observation tools, and there's so much that plays a role and that can be useful in what we intend to do. Then also make sure that in private sector engagement, tell the companies and tell the financiers that they have a stake in this, because in 25 years there will be these 300 million more mouths to be filled. So they should not sit back and wait for the international donor community and the people themselves to solve all these issues. They have a stake and they stand to gain, and they have to be part and parcel of these kind of activities that SO Values is doing. Maybe I'm too much of a left-wing history, and I can't avoid to say this. And finally, the people and the tools. Like I started, I also want to finish with that. Focus on young people, invest in young people. Don't forget that other parts of the world are running out of young people. Europe, Russia, Japan, China, the people are aging, and you will have a huge old people group at some point, and then Africa has these young people. So, every coin has two sides, and my advice is to also look at the happy side. I mean, we are here to solve a problem, so fertility decline. There are challenges, but there are certainly also lots of opportunities. So thank you so much for your time and your attention.
Thank you, Professor Smiling, for that comprehensive overview, and appreciate your work and the leadership that you brought to the program. Next, Nasru Diallo will present how the Soil Values Program contributes to soil health in West Africa. Diallo is the Deputy Director of Partnerships for IFDC's Soil Values Program. and he has 15 years of experience in West Africa, specializing in agricultural finance and partnerships. He drives funding, mobilization, and collaboration with development banks, policymakers, and the private sector to improve soil health in Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, and northern Nigeria. His background includes financial engineering, agri-food investment, and work with organizations such as World Bank, Danida, and GIZ. The floor is yours, Nasuru.
Good day, and thank you everyone for joining us on this very wonderful day, the World Soil Day 2025. My name is Nasuru Diallo. I'm the Deputy Director for Partnership and for the program Soil Values. And it's my pleasure and also my honor to present to you the contribution of our program to improving soil health across West Africa. It's also an honor to come right after Eric Smalling because of his knowledge and what he's done for the past 6 months for this program. So I'll begin with the vision and goal of Soil Values. Then I walk you through our strategic approach, highlighting key partnership and complementarity with ongoing regional initiatives. And last, I will share some key achievements that we have so far. So Soil Values is a 10-year program, 100 million euro initiative funded by the Dutch government through DGIS and running from 2024 to 2023 across Sahelian countries. Right now, Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, and northern Nigeria. But it's, I would say it's more than a program. It's a long-term commitment to reversing land degradation and also building food security. Our goal is twofold. Is first to increase food production, and second to improve the resilience of smallholder farmers in the focus countries, especially, of course, women. And we are aiming 1.5 million farmers for the 4 countries, and we also aim to restore 2 million hectares of land in those Sahelian countries. To achieve this, we walk through 3 interconnected pathways. The first one is the agroecology pathway, and this is where soil healing, if I may say, happens. We promote sustainable farming practices that improve soil structure, fertility, and water retention. We bundle intervention at the farmer level, like improved seeds and other agro inputs. And we also integrate them at the watershed level to maximize impact. Second is the inclusive market and finance, where with the farmers, we know that the farmers need incentives to adopt sustainable practices. So we want to build market systems that reward soil health and soil fertility initiatives and practices. So we want also to link farmers to buyers, providing macro loans and other type of financial mechanisms and instruments. And we also want to create very strong value chains for climate smart products. And this is about turning sustainability into profitability. The third pathway is the enabling environment. Lasting change require, as you may know, supportive policies and institutions. We work with governments, regional bodies, and also the private sector to integrate soil health into national strategies, investment plans, and also regulatory frameworks. So key to our success is and will be partnerships, whether it is for scalability or for sustainability. We are leveraging in aligned investments across soil fertility businesses model, fertility sector financing, and also developing partner buy-ins. We work closely with private, public, and research institutions to create an ecosystem for change. For instance, we work closely with main World Bank program in the region, FSRPs of ACRISOL, also LPRES in Nigeria, to come up with more sustainable and more impactful solutions to the smallholder farmer. And we know that none of this would be possible without really strategic partnerships. That is why we position the program, Soil Values, as a catalytic program that aims to initiate and support soil health and soil fertility initiatives. I mentioned already FSRP, but it is very important that we show how we complement this program at the regional and also at the national level. And as a key partner, this program that is led by ECOWAS, CORAF, and SILS, aim is focused on digital advisory, market integration, emergency response, and also productive-based sustainability. So we are bringing that soil health and fertility component to the whole program. So in order to make a picture out of it, I would say that FSRP is building the resilience of the food system, and we, Soil Values, we ensure that the system is rooted into healthy and fertile soils. So together we can create a more holistic, durable model for food security in the focus region. Eric talked a bit about it. It is actually right now our main approach when it comes to how we can address critical issues in terms of productivity at the farmer level. On the ground, we don't want to really right now offer piecemeal support. We really want to provide farmers with a complete box, a complete package that would include improved agro input such as seeds, fertilizer, pesticide, and for the fertilizer, we would like to really have a combination of the organic and the mineral fertilizer at in the right quantity and ratio. But also we want to bring the right and tailored financial instrument into this box. We want to promote financial instruments such as microloans, but also we want to promote the warehouse receipt system. We want to promote the VSLAs, the Village Savings and Loan Association, so that the farmers could get the right financial incentive so they can access financially to this agro input needed to really increase their production. And last but not least is, of course, the market access, which is very crucial. we really want to make sure that these farmers, even though we are talking about smallholder farmer, at some point they need to get access to a market. Otherwise, the whole system will fall apart, and we will never reach the adoption rate that we would like. So combining this, we already know through different experiences that we can easily reach about 80% of adoption rate. So we really want to make sure that the farmers have this package so that we make sure that we get this kind of adoption rate at the end of this program. So now, still in terms of practices, what are we promoting? We are focused on integrated soil fertility management, ISFM practices. We know that they are viable, they are scalable, and also that are gender sensitive. This includes techniques like Zai planting. Professor Eric talked about it. We also include the agroforestry. We also include the biodigester to get access to organic fertilizer. So we really want to promote inclusive also land management. It's very important. And for that, we want to address natural resources issues, not only at the farmer level, but also at the community level in our selected watershed in the different countries where we are implementing the program right now. As key achievements, so far, the program has been running since the middle of 2024. We've been able to build the capacity of about 3,000 really farmers in the 4 countries, where you have 42% of women and about 46% of youth. That capacity building generated about 92,000 farmers trained in the 4 countries, where you have about proportion 42% of women and 46% of youth, which is already something that we can be proud of. We also were able to establish about 147 demo plots and across, of course, the 4 countries that are serving as living classrooms for farmers. We have also trained thousands of farmers in JC sensitive technology, as I showed already. And we also are building farmer resilience, not just ecologically, but also economically and socially by designing and implementing business models around this agroecology practices in the 4 countries. For instance, we developed what is called the mobile shop at the farmer level, so that those farmers can have easily access to the right input at the right time. And this model is very important because it also helps to create jobs for the youth at the watershed level, and also to make sure that the smallholder farmer get access to some support from those youth that have been trained to really provide the right support in terms of ISFM technologies. For the pathway, when we talk here about market and finance, we did what we were able to identify and engage already input dealers and service providers at the watershed level. And we were also able to build capacity of village savings and loan association in all 4 countries. And right now we are about to put in place or strengthen the existing ones. And also we were able to sign agreements with the African Development Bank through the AFFM, the African Fertilizer Financing Mechanism, so we can develop credit guarantee scheme in 3 countries, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. And what also is important is that we are looking for innovative financial mechanisms. We are looking at carbon credits, and with that one, we are under implementation of a pilot phase in Nigeria here with Tuba, and we hope that we can export that model in all 4 countries in the coming years. We are also developing with AgriWallet a digital platform that will deliver financial services, but also deliver the accessibility, a better accessibility of farmers to agro inputs through the digital platform. For the pathway 3, which is the policy and institutions, we were able for the past 2 years to advance for soil health and quality standards at the regional and national levels through our supports to very important committees such as the WACOFEC. And also we participated greatly in the capacity building of organizations of agro dealers and farmers organizations. We were able to really support the AFIDA, the African Fertilizer Industry Development Association, for their launch. We also support the PAFO, the Pan-African Farmer Organization, for the General Assembly that is going to take place next week. Another point is that we conducted studies on trade opportunity between Sahelian and coastal countries because we know that healthy soil can drive regional economic integration. We are looking to really see how we can put a dialogue or enhance a dialogue between the coastal and Sahelian countries, not only on agri-input, but also in trade. So that's why next week we will also have a workshop in Accra where we're going to really put in place a roadmap with very actionable points of how we can enhance this dialogue between the coastal and the Sahelian countries. In closing, I would say that Soil Values is more than a program. It is a partnership-driven movement to restore soil health, empower farmers, and also build climate resilience in West Africa. I would like to invite everybody to join this movement, and thank you very much for your attention. Back to you, James.
Thank you very much, Nasuru, for those impactful insights and for sharing with us the achievements of the program and the plans. And thank you very much for that. And we now move to our panel discussion, Aligning Inclusive Partnerships and Innovation to Build Resilient Soil Fertility and Health. This is moderated by Dr. Umu Kamara, who is the Vice President of Global Programs at IFDC. With over 20 years of experience in agricultural economics, she has held leadership roles at IFDC and the African Union Commission and previously worked with ICRISAT and ILRI. Dr. Kamara holds a PhD from Michigan State University and has published widely in scientific journals. And please allow me to also introduce our panelists who are experts from ISRIC, SNV, AGRA, and Wageningen. We have Francis Salatza, a PhD holder in soil sciences from the University of Shan. Who leads soil fertility and sustainable land management projects at ISRIC. His work focuses on leveraging quality soil data to develop decision support systems for site and crop-specific fertilizer recommendations. With prior experiences at IITA, BGR, and UM6P, he specializes in soil fertility, digital soil mapping, carbon sequestration, and sustainable cocoa production. Passionate about healthy soils, Francis aims to advance food security. Mary Guilleré is a gender equality and social inclusion expert with over 12 years of experience in international development. She serves as the multi-country GESI expert for SNV's Soil Values Program and has worked with UN Women and leading NGOs on peace building, gender advocacy, and social inclusion. Mary holds degrees in language and linguistics and social work and is fluent in English, Hausa, and Barong. Dr. Aseta Diallo is an agricultural economist with over 25 years of experience in agricultural value chain, soil health technologies, and input market development across Africa. She is Senior Specialist for Soil Health and Integrated Soil Fertility Management at AGRA, working with stakeholders to promote technology adoption and policy reforms for smallholder farmers. Dr. Diallo holds a PhD in agricultural economics and has authored several publications on soil management and agricultural development. And finally, Katrien Deschemaker is professor and chair of plant production systems at Wageningen University. Her research focuses on farming systems analysis, soil-plant animal interactions, and sustainability transitions, with a special interest in mixed crop livestock systems and smallholder farming in sub-Saharan Africa. She collaborates on co-designing agricultural innovations to boost productivity, food security, and climate resilience. Please welcome our panelists and our moderator, Dr. Umu Kamara. And over to you, Dr. Kamara.
Thanks, James. Good afternoon, good morning, everyone. The panelists, can you please put your cameras on so we see you? So welcome to this panel session on aligning inclusive partnership and innovation to build resilient soil fertility and health. Today, we explore how inclusive collaboration, evidence-driven innovation, and market-responsive solutions can transform soil health systems at scale. Eric has laid the foundation of today's discussions very well. He has put in front of us the challenges, but also the opportunities. We have to build on this and reflect on how diagnostics, technology delivery, market incentives, and institutionalization must work together to deliver resilient outcomes for millions of farmers across Africa. So you have seen as soil values, you have seen the targets that we have set to reach. And we cannot do that alone. We have more than 10 partners across the programs, and I'm seeing the questions, the comments in the chat. A lot more are out there that we need to partner with to achieve these goals. Our panel brings together leaders working across soil data, gender inclusion, policy reform, and research. And each, you will see, offers unique insights into how we can accelerate lasting changes. So I will start. Let's see if I can see everybody. Yeah, great. I will start with Francis, Dr. Francis. I don't see you yet. Can you unmute your mic? Yes.
Okay.
Great.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
So Francis, I have two questions for you, and you will have about 5 minutes to reflect on those. So we'd like to know how does open access soil data, such as soil grids, support targeted interventions? How can that help NGOs, government institutions design better programs? And what types of innovations in soil information systems can enhance resilience and sustainability?
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Omo, for giving me the floor. And before getting to the question, I will first of all, on behalf of the director of ISRIC, say a thank you for inviting us to this very important event, the celebration of the World Soil Day. Yeah, I think for your first question related to how open access to soil data can support the government and NGO in designing targeted intervention. I think it will be, the previous speaker, I will align with them, resetting the importance of soil in targeting intervention and addressing the current challenges in food security and land degradation we are having. The soil is very important. But now, to address this problem, we need soil information, because soil need to be included in the decision-making process. But when these soil information are available, two main factors need to be considered: the accuracy and the scale of this soil information. So these two factors should primarily guide the usage of the soil data for the intervention at the different scale. And maybe many people will be disappointed hearing me saying that products like soil grid, which are global, should not be recommended for local targeted intervention for government and NGOs. And that's why, in terms of collaboration, ISRIC is really promoting and supporting also the local or national soil information system development. And this system should ideally consider soil as a common good. And it's not a pipe dream, because a lot of effort has been conducted in the past to collect soil, and also in initiative like soil value. We are having Eric mentioned the field campaign for the trailer soil data collection campaign that is ongoing. So there are a lot of data already existing that need to be combined, harmonized, and standardized to fit this soil information system that can be used at that level to guide the different interventions. And also we want to highlight here the partnership, the strong partnership between partner in this program, including the World Bank with the FSRP. It has been mentioned by the previous speaker, the West African Hub, which is also part of the initiative of soil data collection, and also the private company, because joining effort to collect this data, get them standardized and harmonized, will bring more impact. So that's what we can say from the first question. And the strong message will be that open access soil data, two things should be considered: the accuracy, which so far in many data sets is not considered, and the accessibility of this data should also be considered through soil information system to give more impact on the intervention. Now, regarding the second question, which is related to how innovation in soil information system can enhance the resilience and the sustainability, I think there are many innovation taking stage in the soil information production arena, and this include mainly the spatial resolution of digital soil mapping, which by itself is also a quite recent innovation. The artificial intelligence-driven model that are being intensively applied now in the soil information production. And also there are a lot of new sensors that are being developed to capture and monitor the dynamic in soil. And also we cannot deny the fact that more and more we are having mobile-based application, mobile-based phone application that we can use to collect data. And when we put all this data and information together, this can be really bundled innovative tool that should be considered to address the current soil trade and improve the agricultural production, specifically in the Sahel area where the soil value is operating. And this can be used to address factors like soil erosion, soil salinity, and soil fertility. And also this tool can help exploring the specific soil condition monitoring at real time. And we can leverage on this to really address the soil problem and challenges we are having at the moment. So the strong recommendation for this question is like soil information should be coupled with other innovative source of data for decision making in decision support tool, for example, where soil information and crop information are combined to provide fertilizer recommendation. And also we insist in the multidisciplinary approach that is also well captured in our program, in the soil value program, and with the strong partnership we are having with other stakeholders. So for this question specifically, we will say that embracing the ongoing technological innovation dynamic in soil information generation and application, considering the real farmer need, is required to speed up the success toward the resilience and the sustainability of agriculture in Sahel. So I think I will stop at this point yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Omo. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Francis. You have done extremely well. And I think what the big takeaway from what you have said and what Eric also advised us on is that not all models that are out there can and need to be adopted. You know, we have heterogeneity and we must make sure that we adopt the right tools for the right environment. And so soil information systems are critical for diagnostics, for us to know, as you have said, well, Francis, what are the conditions of our soil, so we know what to apply and how to address these deficiencies. So thank you very much for that, Francis. Mary, over to you. I have also 2 questions for you. I hope you were not discouraged when you saw only 10% of people were interested in Gezi. Yeah. So, but you know, women, we make it all happen. So yeah, it's still it's a critical element. So I would like to know for you to reflect on how can gender-sensitive approaches improve soil fertility programs and ensure inclusivity, and which community-based models can be scaled up to promote soil health?
Thank you so much. Of course, I was actually discouraged when I saw the pool, and I thought that I should start by clarifying that a common misconception that gender equates women. So gender does not only mean women. In the context of soil fertility, GESI responsive approaches ensure that soil fertility interventions work for everyone. So when we say everyone, we mean women, we mean men, we mean youth, persons with disabilities, pastoralists, all vulnerable groups. What seemed like we're working with women is because women and youth are central in soil fertility programs because they are often key actors, yet they face systemic barriers that limit their participation and benefit. So we also work with these groups as well. The question we're asked is, okay, how exactly how exactly does the GESI responsive approach work? So the GESI responsive approach is simply recognizing that men, women, and youth have different roles because of the culture or our society that we live in. It also recognizes that we have different needs. Men's needs varies from women's needs as well as youth's needs. And this need varies for obvious reasons. For example, women are saddled with both reproductive and productive roles. And so obviously their needs is going to vary. And then of course the needs of youths varies. So in looking at GESI or gender responsive approach, we're looking at, or we want to acknowledge first of all that these different groups have different needs, they have different roles to play, and then they also have barriers that affect their participation in soil fertility management. Key practical example of a GESI responsive approach will be ensuring equitable access to productive resources. So for example, we often talk about lands and getting improved seedlings for young people, for women, for disabled groups. It's being GESI responsive means getting, for example, a joint line ownership, targeting vulnerable groups for subsidized input, and also supporting youth, for example, like Dr. Eric talked about, them being a very key population that we need to work with, and looking at what are these barriers that these young people face in this in the aspect of access to credit. So if we are responsive in equitable access to resources, farmers and everyone can adopt soil fertility practices that will increase the program reach and impact. Another gender responsive approach will be recognizing the gendered division of labor. Like we say that agriculture is gendered. There are roles that women play, roles that men play. For example, men decide on which crops to plant and where. They also are into cash croppings, while women on the other side are into home gardening. We see them doing a lot of composting. And we also see that young people also have a role to play. So a GESI responsive approach is recognizing that there's a gender division of labor in soil fertility management and designing a GESI sensitive approaches or technologies. Nasiru has mentioned some of them, and Dr. Eric has also mentioned some of the GESI sensitive technologies. For example, we're looking at soil amendment technologies like bokashi and composting. Then we look at also the drip irrigation system that reduces the burden of spending long hours trying to get water to the farm. And we know that these roles are also gendered. Last point before I go to your next question is looking at the gender responsive approaches in terms of, so I mean, for the last point I made, when we ensure gender sensitive division of labor, the result is that it improves soil fertility practices because it becomes easier to adopt by everyone, men, women, and youth as well as persons with disability. Lastly, the GESI sensitive approaches improves knowledge and sharing adoption. We see that a lot of women, for example, may not be able to attend training. Young people, for certain reasons, may not have access to the information that is being shared either in meetings that they're not part of. Sometimes they feel young people feel excluded from adults' family space. So a GESI responsive approach will look at how we can have, for example, mix or separate training groups to ensure that all these social groups are part of our meetings. And the results in soil fertility is that more people will be trained and the adoption rates for soil fertility management will increase. On your last question, your second question, which is on the successful community-based models. We have successful, inclusive community-based models that have been effective in promoting soil health. For example, and then these models also, they foster ownership and sustainability of the program. One of it is the Farmer Field School, which is a practical place of learning where farmers can come and learn by seeing, seeing the testing of soil fertility practices on the demonstration plots, as well as they have the opportunity to share knowledge. And then the Farmer Field School also provides an opportunity for interaction between and among different social groups. When this is done, we see that it provides an opportunity for learning, and then it has a scaling potential because it can be integrated or adapted by other organizations or other farmer cooperatives. Two more community-based models. One is the integrated landscape management platform. These are the platforms.
Sorry to catch you. I'll give you 30 more seconds, okay?
Thank you so much. Okay, lastly,
Okay.
this platform is a platform where we bring together all community members, traditional leaders, young people. So they have an opportunity to interact together. The potential for scaling that is very high, and it can be adopted at the village level, at community level, and the district level. Thank you, and I stop for now.
Great, thank you. And you will have an opportunity to expand because I see a lot of questions in the chat for you. All right. So this is great. And then thank you for making that point. Gender is not equal to women. And we have, for us to have equitable access to resources, we must identify these barriers and address them. And so the role of policy comes in, and as I transition to Aseta. And Aseta, can you tell us what policy frameworks are essential for scaling integrated soil fertility management, for addressing some of these barriers that Maria has talked about? And how can partnership influence policy, to integrate soil health into food security and climate agendas? Mary talked about the role, the division of labor, the role of women in terms of especially improving land soil health. But there is also a direct link in terms of women empowerment and food security, food and nutrition security. So how can policy empower all of that? How can partnership influence policy to integrate soil health into food security and climate agendas? Aseta?
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Thank you, Umu. Yes, from AGRA, we say thank you for involving us to this very important discussion today to celebrate the World Soil Day. As we all know, and as Eric said, the soil is a strategic resource for all of us. So celebrating it shouldn't be, as he mentioned, just one day, but let's celebrate it every day. And let's really look how best we can get it to be more healthier for all of us and for our planet. For your first question around integrated soil fertility management, what type of frameworks, Eric in his presentation also mentioned this technology. And for me, we should look at it like what are the objectives when we support the adoption, the implementation of such technology. We know is really to support the soil health, to support soil fertility, and also to increase productivity. As we also mentioned, the earlier speaker, is we have a lot of mouth to be fed, so we need to increase productivity, and by using ISFM technologies, we will reach this, we will achieve this objective. And also, more importantly, is to lead us to more resilient agri-food system by supporting, by promoting a resilient farming system. But when we look at in our countries, specifically the soil values countries, the ISFM per se, we don't have a policy, we don't have strategies. What we have in these countries is mainly agriculture investment plans, which are coming cascaded from the CADEP, the Continental Framework. What we also have is fertilizer quality control. In most of the countries, soil values is operating in Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, Nigeria. We have fertilizer quality control, we have fertilizer regulation, but it's not enough. Of course, it'll facilitate access to quality input to quality fertilizer, but it doesn't clearly show how we should go about adopting and implementing integrated soil fertility management. We also have land tenure and land use policies, which is critical because at the end of the day, if smallholder farmers are investing, they need to get a return on their investment. And if they don't own the land, then it could impact their investment. We also have subsidy programs in all these countries. We know subsidy programs are, at least, even if the impact is the evidence of the impact is not there, but at least it helps to farmers to get access to quality to input at least. So the gap here, what I want to mention is in our country we don't have yet a national policy or strategy around soil health, around soil fertility. But fortunately we had this continental African Union Fertilizer and Soil Health Summit, which was held last year in Nairobi here, and where the government, where the head of states committed to working on fertilizer and soil health. And as partners, we are now supporting countries to come up with their own national action plans around soil health and to integrate target, to integrate indicators, to showcase how their commitment going forward, how they are going to invest to work on soil health and get it done, and also align to regional and continental framework. So their effort ongoing, and the soil values program is one of the example of how best it could be done at country level, and we are supporting countries to develop this coherent document at country level and mobilize resources for investment. Now, in terms of partnership, what is the importance of partnership? Nasuru has said it. Soil values program is again a case of how partnership could be built, because as you mentioned, Umu, there is more than 10 organizations contributing to the implementation of the soil values program. We have research institutions, we have advocacy and policy institutions, convening institutions. So all of them working together, it facilitates taking at scale this policy and advocacy, taking strong voices at national but also at continental and international level around the importance of soil health. And this will help, this is helpful in mobilizing resources like what we have done. And soil values is a case to show evidence how it could be done, because also partnership is about building these strong alliances and generating evidence to support resource mobilization, to support really putting out there this commitment and really mobilizing all stakeholders. But as Nasuru also said, it helps to put together these resources, because we know now resources are very limited, but leveraging these resources, putting them together, resources in terms of financial but also technical expertise, putting them together is very critical. And this is all about partnership. This is all about soil values. We mentioned, Nasuru mentioned the World Bank, he mentioned FDB, he mentioned other partners. So by doing so, by building this partnership, we are able to leverage resources and get to greater impact, but also to strengthen coordination, because sometimes you can see duplication of resources, duplication of investment, which is not helpful and which limit the impact we are getting. So all of this is very important and very critical. Now, in terms of gender, when doing it, of course, we shouldn't forget about the gender integration, because, as you said, women are very critical in terms of food production, and it has been said, it clearly shown the evidence that they contribute for almost more than 60%, even if gender is not only about women, but they are a big component of it. So by doing these policies, we should integrate, we should involve all components, and building partnership, we also should make sure all these voices are represented. So maybe before I stop, I want just to say we should all commit to a future, the soil health future, where restoration and soil health will be a legacy which we will be leaving to the future generation, to continue building hope and dignity for all communities, for all countries, and for our continent. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Asita. And I will use that line for my conclusion. That is perfect. Yeah, so in terms the policy frameworks, I think you have said it all. The CADAP, of course, is the umbrella framework, and we have the Africa Fertilizer and Soil Health. And now we are moving to domestication, or at the country level, and I think AGRA is playing a big role in that. Land tenure, you have touched on that as well, and that is very important as incentives for farmers to invest in the soil. And the price of output, linking farmers to profitable output markets is another one. And you also touch on the return on investment and the issue of quality control. Last week, we had the West Africa Fertilizer Committee for Quality Control, the meeting in Abuja. And it's clear, if the little money farmers have, if they invest that in rehabilitating the soil, if they invest that in fertilizer, and this fertilizer is not a good quality, then it's more than lost funding. It's not more than lost income. It's also lost hope in that, and belief in that fertilizer can change and can improve the soils. So it's a lot at stake for us. And transitioning to Professor Catherine, and Catherine, two questions that are not so easy, but as you reflect on what all the panelists have contributed, how can academic and industry partnerships accelerate knowledge transfer and innovation? And what type of metrics should we use to measure success? At the end of the day, what does success look like? And how do we align inclusivity and innovation for soil health? Professor?
Thanks a lot, Umu, and let me join the other panelists in thanking the organizers of the webinar for inviting me. It's a real pleasure to be here this afternoon. Well, it's afternoon here in the Netherlands. So yeah, thanks for these questions. And well, thanks for also sharing them with us in advance, because indeed they are difficult questions. So luckily I had some time to reflect on them. And on your first question, I would like to start by stressing that I don't like to think about knowledge transfer. To me, a partnership is it should aim for being an equal partnership in which capacities and knowledge are shared, are exchanged, and are developed together. So in an equal partnership, it is not the case that one partner knows it all, let's say, and then transfers that knowledge to the others. It is ideally we strive for a co-creation of knowledge and capacities. So coming from the academic side myself, I think our mandate in this partnership is to generate insights, fundamental insights into processes and factors. And in soil values, this is about insights in soil processes and factors that can help build resilience of agroecosystems, right? Now, these insights that we hope to generate from our end, they only lead to real world impact if we make sure that we connect them with the end users of the insights, of the innovations, etc. And so we need to connect them with farmers, with technology developers, with actors in the agri-food system. And so that is, to me, what partnership is all about, that connection. And so if we manage to do that, I think such equal partnerships can help in 3 key ways. The first one is in terms of co-designing research and innovation around real-world challenges. So challenges that are real for people on the ground, for farmers, for private sector actors, etc. And if we make sure that we co-create from the formulation of our research questions all the way through all the stages of the research, we become better at making sure that our insights are immediately relevant and scalable. The second area is partnerships help to create short connections between research and practical application. So what I mean with that is that if we're able to implement our research in the field, for example, doing field experiments on farmers' fields, if we implement our research in the setting of a living lab, for example, if we manage to do that, implement the research in these real life settings, we can partner up with development actors, with industry, in terms of testing those innovations, the options in realistic conditions, while at the same time giving the scientists the opportunity to generate high quality data. So it's like that win-win situation that we're looking for. And then the third area where I think the partnerships can really contribute is in building shared platforms for data. Well, Francis already talked a bit about that. Shared platforms for data and for innovation. So, and those can be digital soil platforms, they can be shared data sets, etc. But if we do that together, then we can try to link scientific insights with let's say market-driven development, and that can help us to speed up testing in real life. So in summary, I think the partnerships, they allow us to turn the scientific knowledge into actionable solutions for different players on the ground. But of course, partnerships are not only essential in research and innovation, I think they're also essential in education. And so when we talk about education, I think it was mentioned already before as well, I think by Eric, that this happens at multiple level. So when we talk about education, it's about MSc, PhD education. It's also about vocational training. It's also about lifelong learning of professionals. And so I think that's important to keep in mind. And for example, in the more academic training pathways, the MSc and the PhD programs, linking it to partnerships, I think it's important to offer our students that direct linkage with, again, the real life context in which our partners, development institutes, NGOs, companies operate on a day-to-day basis. And we can do that through internships, thesis projects, co-supervised research. There are different options there. And when we think about soil health, I think we all know that this is not purely a biological or a chemical process. It is linked to the climate, it is linked to agronomy, it's linked to markets, social dynamics, etc. And because of that multidisciplinary nature of the topic we're looking at, I think it's really important that in our curricula we pay attention to interdisciplinarity. And that is important not only in the academic programs, but also in the vocational programs. And so interdisciplinarity, systems thinking, holistic approaches to tackle problems. I think those are really key skills that the future generation of soil health experts should also have in their pocket. And I think the same applies for lifelong learning for professionals. I think that interdisciplinary systems thinking is an important area to build. So in short, education to me is really core, and well, you'll probably not be surprised me saying that coming from a university, but to me it's really a core mechanism through which we can also build our partnerships and through which we can speed up innovation.
Great.
Moving then to your second question, which is about metrics.
Okay, you have maybe 30 seconds to wrap up.
30 seconds. Okay. All right. Then I will just say one thing. Because metrics are great. They allow us to track progress. But there's also a danger in focusing only on metrics because if we do that, we run the risk that we forget about understanding the mechanisms behind the change. And so, yeah, I think it would be great if the Soil Values Project pays attention to that. And in relation to inclusivity, I think the metrics are not only about improvement in soil organic matter or improvement in soil fertility, changes in nutrient balances. It's also about who is involved in the project. So looking at the diversity of stakeholders, who gains from the innovations that we propose. Maybe there are people who benefit, but it could be that there are people who lose from certain innovations. So examining the interaction between the technology and the social norms, I think is really important to understand. To understand and to make sure that what we do leads to more equity and not more inequity. I'll leave it there.
Yes, you have said. I think you have said a lot. You have said it all as critical elements have been captured. Thank you very much for that. And so, what I take away, and that partnership is not. Partnership must be equal in terms of, and so it's not knowledge. It's one-way sharing of knowledge, but an exchange of knowledge. And you're absolutely right. So co-creation of knowledge and the relation to technology adoption, because when there is that co-creation, then the likelihood of technology to be adopted is greater. The partnership, the different types of partnerships, these are excellent, and I think Nasuru has been taking note. And the testing of the innovations in realistic conditions, I think that is critical. It's not done often, and is important. And in your last point about the matrix, who gains, we are assuming that all the impact of the program are going to be positive, but it's also technology innovations also disrupt. So let's also capture those. And I thank you. I thank all my panelists, but I would like to close the panel session and ask the panelists to stay on standby for some of the questions. But it's clear from all your discussions, all your contributions, that resilient soil fertility and soil health cannot be achieved through technology alone. So what I've heard is that it requires alignment, between data and practice, gender inclusion and community leadership. And Professor Catherine, I said something else, interaction between technology and social norms, interactions between policy and markets, between research and real-world adoption. So our shared challenges is that we have to ensure that this system work. They work together to create lasting changes, equitable changes, equitable impact for farmers. So I thank all my panelists, and James, let's open the floor for the Q&A.
Thank you, Umu. Thank you, panelists, for your participation. We have just a few minutes for questions. So I will start with one question about the Soil Values Program. So maybe, Nasuru, you can answer this one. Has the program developed a sustainable soil management catalog, specific by country, region, or agrosystems? And how effective for the program objective is the operation and institutionalization of national, regional soil information systems? What kind of financial and non-financial incentives have been provided for the national, subnational governments to farmers? So that's actually 3 questions. And I see Nasru did answer in the chat that an ex-ante analysis was done to select relevant ISFMs per country and per watershed. Soil Values has also a participative approach, which gives the opportunity to farmers and to communities to pick the right ISFM. In terms of financial mechanisms, we now have the VSLA's approach that helps to financially include farmers, especially women. Yes, please proceed.
Okay, I would like to thank all the panelists for this comprehensive presentation on the topic. My name is Bouba Traoré, and I'm a scientist working with ICRISAT in Mali. My question is for Eric Smiling, and I was very happy to see in your presentation that there is now a new machine for implementing ZIPIT. You know, one of the challenge of upscaling of ZI was principally because of a labor issue. So if there is now this new machine, I think it can easily help the community to upscaling the ZIPIT technique. But you know, ZIPIT is mainly for hard pan soil. But now most of the soil, even which are not hard pan, have soil fertility issue. And one other issue is also climate issue, rainfall issue. So I'm trying to think, maybe we should not say ZIPIT should be applied to the hard pan, but we can also transfer to, change the traditional way of the way we are doing, even in the soil, which is not very like a hard pan, so that we benefit from rainfall, we benefit for nutrient, a kind of precise agriculture. So I just want to hear your comment on this kind of replacement of traditional technique to this new system. My second comment again is morely for Jallo, Aseta Jallo. It's about the communication partnership around all the action that we are doing for improving soil fertility in the dryland area. I have a feeling that there is still kind of misunderstanding. Sometimes I try to compare the soil like a bank. Eric was talking about a good where you have a deposit, and then you have to know that this deposit, if every year you pick up from your deposit, in the end, it will be empty. Farmer and all the users, stakeholders of soil, should understand that if you harvest 1 ton of maize or cotton or sorghum or whatever, you have to understand that you are removing from your deficit, from your deposit in the bank. So if we are able, in terms of scientifically, to change communication, how do we ensure that this healthy soil will be translated into a kind of measurable value that people will understand that if we don't do that, we are depleting the soil. So that's the challenge. I want to also understand your view on that. Thank you.
Thank you for those questions. I would like to give our panelists and speakers 30 seconds to 1 minute to answer. So I believe Eric and then Aseta, your brief answers if possible. Thank you.
Yeah, very brief. It was a nice question, very relevant. I think in general, as I try to explain also, the terrain is heterogeneous. The people are heterogeneous. There are cities, there are rural areas, there are peri-urban areas. The technologies that make sense and that make sense to the communities can vary. I mean, we have Zai because the plateau in Burkina Faso and some other areas have these hardened surfaces. But where we don't have these hardened surfaces, there is no point in developing Zai. So there we can go for biodigesters, for agroforestry type of solutions. The solutions have to fit the local physical circumstances and what the community think is making sense.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you for that. I think Aseta, the next question was for you.
Yes, thanks to the participant for his question. I think during my presentation, I mentioned generation evidence is very critical because to convince investors or to convince smallholder farmers who are also investing in their soil is very important to generate knowledge, to know how to package this information and to share it widely. At farm level, Nasuru, in his presentation, he have showcased how many demos were implemented in various countries of soil values program. This is the way also to showcase, to show to the farmers how implementing these technologies can help them increase their productivity, can help them really get more production on their soil where they are producing. But also, I mentioned this partnership, but also these large convening areas like the Africa Food System Forum, where we showcased also what the program is doing, where we showcase how important is the soil health management. We have over international convening forums where we continue to advocate, to showcase, to put out there the evidence and continue mobilizing stakeholders, mobilizing partners. And Nasuru said, this is a movement. We are continuing to build on this movement, to continue to building on commitment from government at all levels, but also all stakeholders, private sector, the development partners, and research institution, and all the partners. Thank you. Over.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for your questions again. And I want to thank our panelists. I want to thank Dr. Kamara for leading that engaging session. To wrap up our time today, I want to invite the director of the Soil Values Program, Alain Traore, to share closing remarks and next steps. Since November of this year, he has served as director of the program. Previously, you may recognize him as Director of Agriculture and Rural Development at the ECOWAS Commission, leading ECOWAP implementation across 15 member states and aligning with the CAADP agenda. With over 20 years of experience, including roles in agri-market development, seed marketing, and donor-funded projects, he has worked extensively across West Africa on value chains, contract farming, and institutional strengthening. The floor is yours, Alain. Please close us out.
Thank you very much, James. And I am recognizing myself less than what you said. You have said a lot of things about me. And let me sincerely, first of all, thanks to James and Olga for all the facilities you have been able to put in place to help us to organize this meeting. Thanks to all colleagues, Eric, Professor Eric, Nasuru, Aseta, and other colleagues from the knowledge partners. Thanks for everything that you have said. This was really important, and your insight and contribution are really valuable for us. As we bring this important session to a close, I want to express my deepest appreciation for your active participation and certainly the wealth of knowledge shared today. Eric, thank you very much. When I joined the program at the beginning of November, you were at my side, giving me all the typos, everything, where to care about, what to take into consideration. And you are always saying you should bring your own flavors to some of the activities and the arrangement that are already there. This webinar has reaffirmed a fundamental truth. Healthy soils are not just an agricultural input. They are the very fundamental and foundation of life, food security and climate resilience for our region. Eric have shown us the map, the growth of the population, urbanization is taking some land, the youth people, the demography is growing, and the land are not expanding. Our country have geographic limitations, but the people are growing. So it means that today, healthy soils for a resilient future is really important. Turning the evidence, partnership, and inclusion into actions is more than a slogan. It's a roadmap for collective impact. It reminds us that restoring soil health is not only a technical challenge, but a social and economic imperative. This is very, very important. Evidence, of course, must guide us, must guide our decision. Partnership must amplify our reach, and inclusion must ensure that no farmer, no community is left behind. This is how we build resilience in the Sahel and across West Africa. Aseta says something fundamental. In the country, in the policy, in the enable environment areas, we need to walk aside our decision makers in our country to support them. This is very important. Throughout our discussions, we have seen how innovation, cooperation, and collaboration can converge to create transforming solutions. We are talking today about Zaina, but Zaina is coming from Zai, which is a local innovation that is turned into Zaina now today. So it means that scaling proven innovation, mobilizing investment, and also collaboration across government, research institutions, private sector actors, and farming community is very, very, very important. This is not a journey we can take alone, but again, this is a program. And we want to thank the Netherlands Fund Cooperation Support. They are giving us 100 million euro as a program. And they want us, we committed that for each euro that is given to us, we should be able to mobilize another additional 3 euro. So we are looking for 300 million euro additional to get more impact. That matters to our citizens' life in our country, because the need is immense. The soil degraded are very, very huge. It's not only through 100 million euro that you can solve all the problems. We have been following some questions from our friend from Cameroon. What about Cameroon? You see, so it's important. As FAO reminds us, healthy soils are essential for healthy food and a healthy planet. Let us carry this message beyond today and ensure that soil health remained at the heart of our strategies for sustainable development. I invite each of you to stay engaged beyond this webinar. Join us for upcoming activities within the country. We have country coordinator. We have local implementing partners within the watersheds where we are working. It means that we are not doing things ourselves. We are doing things with local partners, local community. We are changing the life of the people. We transfer knowledge. And with our knowledge partners, we believe that we will be getting and gathering a lot of innovation. And together we can transform commitment into action and make healthy soil to the cornerstone of the resilience. I'm proud to be your director for now, and I hope I can drive us to a successful and impactful for the next 10 years coming. Once again, thank you very much for your engagement and your commitment. Together we can restore Sahel and West Africa's soil for a sustainable future for our generation to come. Thank you very much. Over to you, James. Thank you.
Thank you, Ilan, and thank you all speakers, panelists, and participants. Thank you for joining this lively conversation today. And let us remember, as our speakers have said, that while today is World Soil Day, every day can be Soil Day. So let's keep the momentum for healthy soils and resilient food systems. Thank you all for attending. We will see you soon.